Welcome back, farmers. I think we're gonna have a pretty cool video today. If you remember a couple videos back, I showed the raspberry plants and how there were a bunch of little raspberries growing on there. Well, there's quite a few that are ripe, and I will be picking those right now with my grandparents. So I'm really excited to do this because raspberries are one of my favorite things that we grow around here. And let's just get to it. Let's pick these raspberries. So if we go through and look here, there's quite a few ripe ones. Here, I'll turn the camera here in a second just so you can get a better view. You don't want to look at me, you want to look at these beautiful plants. There's quite a few that we can pick. I want to see how many we can get, and I'll definitely be showing you how many we get by the end of this video. So here is what the ripe ones look like. You can see that this one right here is surrounded by a bunch of ones that are not ripe. And if you go through, there's so many. There's a few. There's some way back in there as well. There's some back in there. I'm waiting for my grandparents to get down here with the buckets so we can pick them. But they get just as excited as I do because these are some of the best things that you can grow where we're at. And yeah, we'll see how many we get here.
I'm standing there. Grandma said, stand here.
You're not allowed to pick berries?
No.
Oh, okay.
Fall down.
Oh, all right.
Look how big them is.
You gotta show them how it's done.
Yeah. There's your boys. You decide you want to help me. If you don't have to, I'm going to crumple all this down. See them in there?
Oh yeah. I'll help you here in a second.
Okay. And the first picking's always got the biggest berry.
All right, I gotta help her. So we're about halfway done here. We got one container right here, a little bit in this one. Grandma's showing me up right now. I gotta keep up.
That was our first picking.
We got 2 bowlfuls, first pickings, huh, Grandma?
Yep.
All right, here we go. So that was really fun. We picked quite a few raspberries, and we'll stay in touch with Grandma and see what she wants to do with them. We'll see if she bakes a pie or creates some jelly or jam or whatever she does with it. They taste so good. They're so sweet. But now that we've done that, I want to show everybody what I did to my garden since the last garden update. There's quite a few changes, and I added something pretty big that I've been wanting to do for a long time. So let's take a look at that. So for starters, we're gonna still take a look at this half of the garden. Like I said before, I'm just gonna let this thing grow however it wants to. The weeds have pretty much taken control. We do have a few onions right here. They're scattered throughout there. But what I really want to do is once the season is over and I harvest these onions, if there's really anything to be harvested, we're gonna chop all this down and put a nice layer of cardboard down and some compost and some topsoil and really rejuvenate this side of the garden, because when fall comes around I really want to put in things like cabbage, some more brassicas like broccoli, cauliflower, things like that where they can handle those cold temperatures, because where I'm at, winter does get cold. It gets below 0 pretty frequently when it gets the coldest, but most of these plants can handle frost that I'm wanting to put in on this side. So we'll see what happens with that. Just a work in progress over here. I'm always learning, and I learned this year that if I want to grow onions, the way that I did it did not work. So one of the things about learning is you want to make sure you don't make that same mistake the next time. So I won't talk about it too much longer because this side of the garden is a mess, and I do know that. So in one of my previous videos, I talked about harvesting peas. We can get a focus here. The pea plants are doing not too bad. They're still producing just a little bit. They're still putting off flowers. This one over here is struggling, and I'm not too concerned about it because I do understand that peas cannot handle the heat. I mean, it's been in the mid 90s, high 90s every day for the past couple weeks. These things happen, and you hate to see it, but peas are just not able to grow very well in these conditions. I was hoping that they would be further along than what they were when I got home from college, but that wasn't the case. I really do enjoy the flavor of these peas, though. These are something that I really want to grow in the future, and I definitely will. So when fall comes around, like I said, that side of the garden will get rejuvenated and taken care of. I'm also going to find a better strategy to grow these peas. This fencing was a good idea up until it got taller than the fencing, just like on this plant right here. But it happens, and we're learning. And the next time that I grow peas, I think we're going to be able to harvest way more, and they'll grow way better. Now here's the main event. I've been wanting to do this to the garden for a really long time, and I finally was able to get my hands on it. I finally got some mulch to put down as a layer for that topsoil. It was drying out really bad. I really wanted to keep some moisture in the ground, and without mulch, you know, you water it and the ground dries out almost instantly, even if it's at night when you're supposed to water. Don't water during the day because it will evaporate. But I finally got mulch down. I'll go through and show you how the plants are looking now that I've done that, and some other things that I plan on doing in the garden throughout the summer here. We also have the golden bell pepper that we put in here. It's doing well. I would say it's doing comparable to these orange jalapenos. They're keeping up. I don't know how many we're going to get by the end of the year. I feel like I'm behind. I might need to fertilize. I'm not sure if these plants are behind or if they're as big as they should be. But that's where they're at right now, and hopefully they can continue to keep up as the summer heat continues to keep them thriving. We also have some banana peppers right here. There's quite a few plants right here. I couldn't quite separate them out of the container, so I put them all together. I'm going to keep an eye on these. I really want these to do well because banana peppers are my favorite tasting pepper that don't have too much heat. So I'm really looking forward to what happens with those. Next, here's a little update on our sweet bonnet pepper. This originally was in the grow tent. I might be able to pull some clips from previous videos about what it looked like in the grow tent, but I completely cut it back and put it in the ground actually. I converted it from hydroponics to soil. I know I have a video where I convert soil plants to hydroponics, but you can also do it the opposite way, where you take a plant that is in hydroponics and you convert it to soil. So in this container we have a KS white tie, which I've talked about before. I thought this plant was dead, but it's actually coming back very well. I might put it in the ground eventually. We'll see what happens. We also have a baby tomato plant in here. I don't know if it'll even produce by the end of summer, but we'll figure it out. You know, I didn't think anything was growing in here. I about tossed it, but then I saw this little tomato plant growing, and I said, you know what, why not give it a little bit more of a chance? We also have our 3 bags of sweet potatoes, and they're coming along quite nicely. I would say that this bag right here is doing the best. They just love the heat that we've been having recently. Sweet potatoes really thrive in those hot conditions, and that's why they can't really do very well when it gets below 55 degrees. These sweet potatoes are growing really well, and hopefully we have a nice little crop. We have 3 7-gallon grow bags, and I'm curious to see what will happen by the end of the summer. But if it continues to be hot like it is, these things are going to be, the vines on them are just going to be spilling over by the end of summer when fall comes around. Now on to the big fella of the garden. Here we have the acorn squash plant, and it's thriving. I grew this same acorn squash variety last year, and I think this one's actually doing better than what the ones were last year, and we got a ton of acorn squash, so I'm very excited about that. Other than the Dreamcatcher pepper, I am most excited about this one right here because I love acorn squash. They just taste fantastic, and I'm super excited to see what we get from this plant. A plant that I really have not talked about too much because I was surprised that it even survived was this Dreamcatcher pepper. I really love this purple foliage. It's just not the typical pepper that you're going to find at a nursery, and I'm really happy that it did survive because it looks really cool. Apparently it puts off red peppers, And by the end of summer, we'll be able to figure that out. And if I really like it and how the peppers taste and how it looks when it matures, I'll be trying to send out seeds to people if they want them. I'm still working on my P.O. box, so hopefully everybody's being patient with that. I really do want to get seeds out to you, but it's only a matter of time before that happens. So bear with me until that happens. I'm taking care of it as soon as possible. But yeah, this dream catcher plant, it's doing well. It's not as big as some of the other plants in the garden, but I really do want to see it thrive. It's probably one of my favorite plants in the garden right now. I just really want it to do well, and it has done that so far. So let's keep an eye out for this thing. We're counting on this thing to win big this summer. We also have some orange jalapenos. These things are really taking off. I put them in the ground since the last video. I'm not sure if I even remember talking about these being in containers, but they were for a really long time. And now I finally put them in the ground and they're doing well. Moving on to the watermelon. We have a lemon drop watermelon plant right here, and as you can tell, it's vining out. It really wants to keep growing, and I hope it does, because the lemon drop watermelon looks really interesting, and I can't wait to try it by the end of the year. We also have two watermelon plants right here, the orange meat or red meat, I forget what it's called, but those watermelon also look very interesting. They're not vining out as much as that lemon drop watermelon, but I don't feel like they're behind. It is just a little bit past the midway point of June, so they have plenty of time to put off some watermelon, and I hope we get a couple of those to try by the end of the year as well. I have a whole video, well, not a whole video, but a good portion of a video talking about this plant right here. This is actually a cutting from this sweet bonnet plant. So this sweet bonnet plant is propagated, and I've put it in the ground as well, and it's really doing fantastic. I couldn't believe actually when I walked out here in the garden earlier about how well this thing's doing. To think that this was just a branch on this plant, and it is shaping up to be its own plant that's going to produce quite a few peppers itself. I really think that is super cool, and you should go check out that video if you want to learn how to propagate peppers. Here's a little experiment I'm doing as well, just like the sweet bonnet pepper that I took from the grow tent and put it out here for propagation. I did the same thing with this plant. I'm super excited about as well. This KS white tie was also in the grow tent, and I completely cut it back and put it out in the garden, and it's actually coming back really well, just as much as the sweet bonnet. This pepper is really taking off, and I could see it producing quite a few peppers by the end of the summer. Eventually, I might take this out of the ground and put it back in the grow tent to show that you can take your peppers inside with you for the winter. Here we have a habanada cutting that I also propagated. I'm really wanting to turn this into a bonsai pepper plant. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, but it's when you take a regular sized pepper plant and keep it cut back, and it makes it look like a little bonsai tree. And it really has that cool curvature on it right now, and I think it has really cool characteristics to turn into a bonsai plant by the end of the summer. So I might take that indoors with me as well if I take the other peppers with me. Right here we have a elephant jalapeno plant. I'm really excited to see this thing produce, because the peppers that come off of it are really unique. They have all of those stretch marks that appear on a jalapeno, but they're actually bred to have as many stretch marks as possible. So they look like they're all scarred up, and I think they're really cool, and I can't wait for those things to produce. Coming over to the back corner of the garden, we have our two long neck squash plants, and I can't really remember what they were looking like in the last garden update, but they are doing really well right now, and I'm excited to see long neck squash in action, because I've really never grown them before. I've only grown acorn squash, and I'm just really excited to see what these look like by the end of the summer. Hopefully we can get quite a few from them, and I'll definitely be keeping an eye out on them as the summer continues. Some things that are similar to the long neck squash, we actually have two cucumber plants, and they're vining out quite nicely. I don't know if they're behind, but they seem to be behind from where I was at last summer. I don't know if it's getting too hot or if they're not being fertilized enough, but I really want to see these take off in the next few months, which I think they will. And we got a ton of cucumbers last year, so if we get even half as much as we did last year, I'll be excited. As far as the line of tomatoes here, I've kind of lost track of which ones are which. I would have to go back through and watch some videos to figure out what they are, but as a whole, they're doing okay. This one seems to be doing the best right here. It's putting off plenty of flowers, and I do need to find a way to stake it here soon so that way it doesn't fall over on me. Hopefully, in the next couple weeks, we get quite a few tomatoes here. I have a feeling that they are micro tomatoes because there are a few growing down here on this vine. See if we can get it to focus here. Yeah, see? So there's a few baby tomatoes. So we do have some fruit coming from this garden. I know it doesn't look like it right now, but by the end of summer, hopefully I can show what I'm capable of growing. And if not, I'm going to learn why I didn't. So stay tuned for that. If you came here for tomatoes, I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm not the best at growing them because they're not necessarily one of my most prized vegetables that I'm growing this year. So last but not least, we have to show you the potato plants. Just like everything else in the garden, the potato plants, they're doing well also. Despite these really hot temperatures that we've been having these last couple of weeks, they seem to be doing very well, and hopefully we get a few potatoes by the end of the year. Here's a look at those. As you can see, I also put a little bit of mulch down here. I had a little bit extra, and I decided to throw it on this bed. We have a few flowers right here. I'm not going to pick them off because they are pretty, and I do not want the pollinators to just fly over this little bed right here. So we're going to keep taking care of these potatoes. I would love to have a baked potato with some acorn squash and some banana peppers at the end of the year this year. So that'll be really exciting once we get to do that. I almost forgot to mention, we have the 2 sets of hydroponic peppers over here. We have the shishito plant right here and the chili pepper plant right here. They're kind of drooping, but I think that is because of the heat. They are producing tons of flowers right now, and I really do think I'm going to let them start producing peppers. If they do start producing peppers and they start to not really do so well, we can pick those off and let the plant keep growing. But the roots are also looking really good. Let me see if I can get a little clip of that. Here's what the roots are looking like towards the end of June. That's really about it for the garden out here. I'll take you into the grow tent and see what's going on in there because there has been some germination that's taken place, and I want to show you what that looks like. So here is a little grow tent update. In the last video, I was trying to germinate 3 banana pepper plants, which all 3 of them have sprouted, and I'm actually going to have to pick some favorites because there are a couple that have sprouted in each rockwool cube. I also was trying to germinate a Kung Star, I think it's a peach starburst or pumpkin starburst, but it's the orange version of the Kung Star lemon starburst. And I've been wanting to grow these peppers for so long. Like, you don't understand how long I've been wanting to grow this KS species, but it just hasn't been going well for me. So it's actually germinated, and I'm trying to take really good care of it so that way I can send out seeds to you guys, because you cannot buy these seeds. These seeds are very rare and can only be obtained through trading or gifting. So once the P.O. box is set up, I'll be able to send those as well. Also, in the budget arrow garden that I built on my TikTok, I am growing an herb garden. We have oregano, parsley, basil, and thyme, I believe. I didn't label it very well, but when they start to grow, we'll figure it out pretty easily. So I'll show you what those look like right now. So here's one of the banana pepper plants. Here's another, and if you can tell, all 3 of them have multiple plants that have sprouted. I will have to cut out the most successful one, or cut out the ones that are not as successful as the biggest one, and therefore we'll just have 1 plant grow in each bucket. I'm also going to have to do the same thing in the budget arrow garden. As you can see, this little group of herbs, this little group, and that group back there all have multiple sprouts. This one's not doing very well. I think, oh, it's cilantro that's the last plant. The cilantro is not doing well. We had a couple sprouts, but I might redo that little section right there. That's the cool thing about growing hydroponically. You can just sub it out, put a new one in there. So we'll figure that out as they keep growing. I'm going to need to add nutrients here soon. And then here we have the Kung Star Peach Starburst, if you can see right there. I think there's actually 2 sprouts, so I'm going to see if I can grow 2 of them in this 12-gallon container. So we might be able to have 2 Kung Star Pumpkin Starburst plants. But yeah, that's what the grow tent is looking like right now. Still looking a little bit bare, but as time continues, we'll see more green in here and more plants. So stay tuned for that. Alright, so if you can not tell, it looks like I just got out of a swimming pool. It's been so hot outside, guys. The plants are loving it. I'm not loving it that much. The heat just really zaps your energy. And, you know, I work outside every day. But there's a lot of days where we're out there working hard. And I always make sure that my garden is also looking pretty good as well. So I spend a lot of time outside. And this heat just really gets to you. So hopefully it cools down in the next couple of weeks. Not too much where the peppers and tomatoes and things like that don't love it. But I don't think 95 degrees every day is really necessary. The plants seem a little stressed out as well. So we're hoping for a little bit of rain and a little bit cooler weather. But yeah, I think the video is going to end here. I'm super sweaty. Been filming this content for you guys. I love going back and looking at it as well. So it's not a waste of time, you know. I really think that I'm building a nice community, and everybody that wants to subscribe is just a member of that community. Big family here at Farmer Marcus's, I don't know, what do you want to call it, the little ranch? I don't know. I've been talking way too long. If you haven't subscribed, do that. If you are not following me on TikTok, please do that. You can get a hold of me on Instagram if you want some free seeds. My P.O. box, I'm working on it, guys. I promise. So if you're watching this and you haven't gotten your seeds yet, I'll be getting them to you. I promise. They're literally waiting. I just need to go set up the P.O. box, and the first second that I get time to do that, I will be in the post office setting that up. So I hope your guys' plants are growing just as good as mine, if not better. So that'll be the end of this video. Subscribe, drop a like, whatever you got to do. You don't have to. Your view is much appreciated. See you guys next time.